Hello, Stellar Nation. Thanks for returning as we wrap up this three-part series about Francis Zrostlik's early days with Dave, Tom, Travis, and Gary. I urge you to go back and catch up with the first two parts before you dive into this closing episode.
Welcome back, everybody. We've got a panel of four of us here this afternoon. Gary Bomstad, Travis Glidden, and Tom Formanek, and we're just kind of doing recollections of I guess the history of the tire service truck industry in Garner, Iowa, which is really if you think about it, what's happened in Garner, Iowa with the tire service truck industry over the years is pretty amazing. Gary, you were at IMT in those early days when it went from just a small idea of a truck all the way through building big tire service trucks,
yes,
and going into lube trucks, going into mechanic trucks at IMT,
yes,
supplying trucks to the Alaska Pipeline, to China.
Definitely.
I mean, tell a little bit about all those challenges you had back in the day.
Well, when I started at IMT, there was like 8 employees. And the underhood air compressor was a new concept that was really just developing then with Clarence Ralston and your dad. And designing mounting kits for that compressor to fit into an engine was always a challenge because every year something would change.
Yeah.
But then I remember your dad, these were 2-cylinder compressors. Your dad wanted a 4-cylinder compressor. And he took it, I don't know how many different companies, and they told him it can't be done. And I remember your dad coming down to the fabrication area in the basement of our corporate office now, and he sawed a couple of compressors to 2, and he put together a 4-cylinder compressor and took it back to these people and showed them, yes, it can work. And Francis always welcomed new ideas from our employees. And we had new idea awards that went on for years. And I'd come up with bring a new idea from the plant and present it to Francis, and he'd look at it. He'd say, "It's a good idea, but I don't like it." Now, and I'd argue the point. I'd try and put our points in that it is a good idea, and this guy brought it forth. It's a good idea, and we'd go back and forth a number of times, and finally he said, "Gary," he said, "I want you to remember one thing." I said, "What's that?" "I'm the boss." I said, "Well, I guess it wasn't such a good idea after all." But it was always fun working with Francis. Never always agreed with him. We never, and he didn't want people that always agreed with him. He wanted to challenge us, and he wanted us to come up with these ideas, even though it wasn't a good idea. But that's the type of guy he was, and he was always looking out for the employees. He hated layoffs. I remember times he'd say, "Gary," he said, I don't care if you have to have employees wash the walls down." He said, "We don't want layoffs."
I remember, I think it was the 70s when the economy slowed way down and Dad didn't want to lay people off, and so he just started building cranes.
Yeah.
And I remember that gravel parking lot between the highway and the factory, it was full of cranes.
Yeah.
And the people he didn't lay off, he found jobs for them around his property for painting the house, painting the fence around the house. I mean, he found jobs for people to do because he did not want to lay people off.
That's right.
And I guess that's kind of the same thing, now today at Stellar as an employee-owned company, with the employees owning things, we kind of have that same mentality. The employees own the company. We want to make sure that we're gainfully employed and we're all working together to the same thing, and we definitely don't want to be laying people off.
Yeah. And it brings back a memory again when we first sat down, Jim and Francis and I, starting Stellar. We came with the idea if the company's profitable, we're going to share it with everybody. Everybody gets the same, president on down through janitor, okay? That was one concept. The other thing is we want to hire employees, trustworthy employees that we can trust. We started a company and it lasted many years, no time clocks.
Mm-hmm.
The employees that we had, they wrote in their time.
Right.
And I know that was outgrown, but that was one of the concepts we had. Trustworthy employees, we want trustworthy employees, so we have to trust them.
Yeah.
And that worked out great. And, if a guy came in 50 minutes late, he gave us 15 minutes back at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the way it worked.
And just some of the changes that we've seen in the buildings, where we started, the original Stellar Industries is now where engineering is at on 3rd Street.
Right.
Which, if I remember, was that a Chevy garage originally?
That's the old K&S Chevrolet.
Okay.
And I think the history of the building goes back to around 1900. I think I've seen on the abstract, I think it was a Alice Chalmers dealership even before being a Chevrolet dealership. So that building has always had something automotive, mechanical going on the floor in that building.
Well, then even where the R&D has the lot just to the east of that building, there was 2 houses there.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
They had those houses which were
Well, there's a
moved.
bowling alley there.
The
too,
bowling
Tom.
alley.
Well, and then the bowling, but you just think of all the changes we've seen. But
Yeah, we bought, I think 3 or 4 houses
and moved
and moved them.
the houses, and then
Yeah,
obviously the
we didn't
sale
want to
barn.
demolish them because Francis said we need housing.
Yep.
So we probably spent a lot more money moving them than we did buying them.
Yeah, we did. I know we moved at least 2 or 3 of those houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously where the bowling alley is now where we have our the paint facility
Yeah.
and shipping and stuff. That is where the bowling alley was at, and
Right.
and obviously the sale barn. You can still see a little bit remnants of the sale barn, and
Oh yeah.
so it's just kind of interesting the landscape how it's changed around.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. I remember this was back in the 90s with Dad. We were outgrowing our facility, and we're looking at different places to expand to. And I traveled with Dad to Forest City, went to Clear Lake to look for factory space that was available. And about that same time, both the sale barn and the old Ziesmer trucking facilities came up for sale within the same month. And really that allowed us to remain in Garner and expand just to the west of where we were, and it really made a natural progression of Stellar moving from where we were, west down 3rd Street.
And we utilized a lot of them buildings for years.
Oh yeah,
The old cattle barns, And,
yeah, the Quonset buildings that Stan
Yeah,
had
oh,
for
yeah.
his trucking. Yeah, we used those. Remember, we had the fiberglass tire service bodies were done in one of those Quonset buildings,
Yep.
and that was the two Dolphin twins
Right.
were doing
Right.
the work. So
Called it SeaWorld.
That building
Yeah,
was
we
called
called
SeaWorld. Yeah, but that was a very productive little cell that we did nothing but those fiberglass bodies.
Well,
in there.
and crane test was just outside. There were all the weights right outside
Yeah.
that building too. So yeah, it was just now you take a look at it, it's like it's totally different, and that's how things change and how we progressed.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, Garner basically has become the unofficial tire service truck capital of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really is goes back to your parents starting with IMT and building tire trucks, and then obviously Stellar. That we have that notoriety that we can say Garner is the tire service truck capital of the world. So.
Yeah, you think about per capita, how many truck chassis go through this community
Yeah.
per year. Per capita, I can't imagine any other community in the world equivalent to what we do here.
absolutely.
Between us and IMT, it's just crazy.
No doubt. A lot of fun, a lot of changes.
It has been. Yeah, I can tell you this isn't a past story, but it's a present story. And one thing I'm really excited about and proud of what we've done is our intern program.
Oh, yeah.
We've gotten to know quite a few of them over the last few years, and I mean, they love coming here. You know, they're having fun and enjoying it, and some are on their second summer. And compared to, you know, before, if you were an intern, you were spraying weeds and, you know, cutting grass, and now it's a true internship program. It's fun to see.
And some become employees. You know.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's one message I've always tried for years to get out to young people coming out of high school here is that, you know, Iowa's notorious for turning out great young people that go somewhere outside of Iowa for the rest of their careers. There's great careers in Iowa, just like here at Stellar Industries, at IMT, throughout north central Iowa. There's great careers opportunities for people here. And yeah, you might have the draw of the West Coast or Texas or Florida or whatever else, but when it comes right down to it, you know, the lifestyle, the cost of living, the great family atmosphere, and the jobs that we can provide here, especially in Garner, Iowa, are just phenomenal.
Yep.
Well, in saying that, we have a lot of customers that come in to obviously pick up their service trucks or come in for training, and there's so many times, and Travis and I know this, that we're hauling customers around, and we'll leave our keys in the vehicle or have our billfold sit in the console there, and they're like, what are you doing? It's like, what? Well, you left your billfold there. It's like, yeah, no one's going to steal it. You don't lock it, and they're just floored that that's the way things in north central Iowa are like.
Yeah.
You know, you look at spin-off companies also from what Francis did. I talked to Pete Gouge.
Oh, yeah.
Run into him the other day, and I mean, they grow. I don't even know how many chassis or tractor trailers they have now, but it's just fun. They're in like, I don't know how many states, but Pete looked at me and said, you know why we're successful? Francis Zrostlik and Barb Zrostlik.
Yep.
They're the ones that got me started. They're the ones that told me how to do it. And then we just kept building from there. So that's another huge company that's
absolutely
a spin-off of
You're so
Francis.
Right. Yeah, and I was in Jeremy's office just a month or so ago, and, you know, as we got bigger and grew and expanded, he had to get bigger, grow and expand, and hire more people just to ship out all the stuff we're building. So all of us kind of grew together in this thing.
Yeah. And Jeremy's and Pete have grown a huge business.
Yes.
They've got depot locations all across the country. I think he's somewhere like 300 different tractors right now. So it's huge business. And you know, as our country grows with trucks and heavy haul, Jeremy and Pete have been right there growing their company. Once again, listening to the customer, voice the customer, what do you need? And they modify their fleet to make sure they can haul what their customers need them to haul.
And Pete shared with me that they got a contract to haul, and he had to buy a lot of heavy-duty trailers to do this, to haul a battery.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
And they got like a 10-year contract to haul a battery. And these batteries, I said, well, how big are they? He said they're huge. But you think a heavy-duty trailer to haul one battery, and I didn't. He got busy, so I didn't have a chance to ask him what they use these batteries for. But
you know, and you think about at any given time, any given week, we have customers not only from all 50 states, but all around the world come to Garner.
Sure.
So and that I guess it's surprising. We've lived it for the last 30 plus years, but you know, I talk to my friends and stuff, and I say, oh yes, somebody was in from South America or Peru or Brazil and into Garner. Like, why would they come? And it is kind of really interesting that people and I want to just share kind of a quick story back before we had international sales and that being Reuben. I was handling international sales for Tire Service, and we were dealing with China at that time. And if you know the customary, that China is you have to be very proper with the business card, the way you present, and typically you would have, a gift that we always had a nice gift that we'd exchange with them. And they happened to come in and we're meeting, and I could kind of tell they were just a little bit, I don't know, hesitant or whatever. The gift they handed me was a hairbrush. and whether you know this or not, I don't have any hair. So it was kind of, they just kind of looked, and I just said, I love it, you know. But and I still have that brush.
Well, it's not used much.
You're just,
It's brand new.
It's very, very
you're just kind of waiting for that hair to come to that brush, right?
But it just is those little stories that you kind of remember in those traditions. But how many times, Dave, do we have people from that are here all the time?
All the time. Yeah.
From all over, and the customs and the traditions that you learn, and it's been great. And I really appreciate we have Reuben.
Yeah, but you mentioned we're rural Iowa, but we're 2 hours from Minneapolis, which is a world hub. We can get anywhere in the globe from Minneapolis. Des Moines, great air service down there too. And with the interstate, with I-35, we can get either place in a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
So really, we're ideally situated to be where we're at with transportation, whether it be by car or by plane.
In the early days, I just wanted to share, and Travis know where I'm going with this is, we would be at the trade shows, and we have these foreigners come in, and they couldn't speak English, and we couldn't understand. And your dad would raise his voice and his hands, and Dave
and talk slower.
Yeah, and Dave said, "They're not deaf." But we were just trying to communicate. It was through hand signals and
loud.
But it was a lot of fun and stuff. But
yeah, some of those the trade shows have always been key to us getting our message out to people about how innovative we are and how we're always reacting to what we're hearing from the marketplace. But boy, the stories we hear back from those trade shows are just priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Some that I'm not going to repeat here.
Yeah.
So
long hours.
Long hours.
But great memories, and a lot of camaraderie and stuff. We're all there to make, and obviously that's what's made this company successful is the people and everybody getting out there.
And as I've gotten older, it's getting a little harder to go to those trade shows because early days, 20, 30 years ago, being out on my feet all day from 8 in the morning till 5:30 at night, not a big deal, but anymore it's starting to play a little hell on my back and my knees and everything else. So
I think trade shows is one of the hardest things there is, especially the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I remember going to trade shows, and I did the whole show myself.
Yeah.
I got the truck ready, and you get inside, you detail everything, and then set the booths up and work the people as they come in.
Sure.
And boy, by the end of the day, you just wanted to hit the sack.
Well, just having those conversations with people, putting your best foot forward and being on top of things, it's mentally and physically challenging and exhausting to do that all day long. And our products draw people into our booths, and we are busy all day long when we go to trade shows.
And a product that both Gary and I kind of did was the extra lift.
Yeah.
And we traveled around and we went to vending shows and it was just pool tables and arcades and trying motorcycles to haul that product and everything. It was a unique time and stuff, but. It's
I went to a lot of lawn and garden
shows. Yeah, but a lot of fun.
Well, we'll close this episode off, and more great memories we've just shared, and a lot more to come. So, thanks everybody for taking a few time this afternoon to
glad to be here,
reminisce and talk about our past and what our future looks like. So thanks, everybody.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, Dave, for letting me be part of it.
You bet. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed getting to know more about Francis Zrostlik over the last couple of weeks. Now would be a good time to make plans to honor him by attending Francis Zrostlik Day in Garner on August 8th.